I've got this Manfrotto boom arm and I want to put it on the wall. And I want to put it way up here just above the TV. Now I know I've got a stud here and I've got a stud here just because I put the TV up already, and so I know that's where the studs are. If I try to put it here on this stud, it's going to be a little too far away. This one's going to be a little too close. So I want to try to get it somewhere in the middle. So I got a couple 2x4s. I'm going to try to tie those into the two studs so I'll be able to put it wherever the heck I want it. I don't have a big truck, I just have a little car, so I bought these. You can actually get these pre-cut to 24 inches. So the next thing I need to do is I need to confirm where those studs are. I'm going to be using this. This is just a couple of magnets with plastic material on the back to prevent scratching up the wall. So these are going to be looking for the drywall screws. Right, I got one right there. So I mean, you can already tell this is where the studs were, so I just need to make sure that I've got this lined up properly. And the next thing is sometimes they can put the screws off center. I want to get it as close to the center as I possibly can. All right, so I got it in line with this mark and this mark. And the reason this has a level on it is so you can make sure that it's going straight up and down. All right, so this one's off to the right just a little bit. Let's see if we can find another one. Now this one's off to the right just a little bit too. And pretty sure that the stud is going to be right there, but I want to just double check. I've got this Tavool stud finder. So that seems to be fairly confident that that is the center. Yep, okay. I'm going to need to get this boom arm as high as I possibly can to avoid hitting the TV. Press it right up against the wall. I'm going to mark it again right about here. So that's approximately where my two studs are going to have to go. So I'm going to do the same thing on the left side, and I just put the laser right now where the TV screws are. Alright, so there's one there. And that looks pretty accurate. Wow, they put this one way off to the side. So that's a thing that you can sometimes find, especially when you've got contractors that don't really care. So I'm going to check this one. I mean, this one's way off to the right. I'm going to check some below it. Alright, so the one below it is perfect. Which means that this one is probably good. And this one up here is terrible. So right now it's calibrating. That's interesting. So it's also saying that it's way off to the side. So potentially they when they were building it, maybe the 2x4 got crooked. I don't see it as warping that much. Maybe they put something onto the side. But for whatever reason, both the electronic stud finder and the magnetic stud finder are saying the screw at the top is way over to the right. Huh. That's kind of bizarre. Well, I guess potentially it bowed like that, but I don't know, that's just weird. Now, a final way to check is to take a small drill bit and drill in and see where you can feel wood. Alright, so I'm using the smallest drill I have, which is a 1/16, and I'm just going to make a hole where I marked to make sure that there is something there. Alright, there's definitely a stud there. And you only have to go in about 1/2 inch, that's the thickness of most drywall. Alright, so now I'm just going to measure across. 15 3/4, 15 3/4. So these are probably supposed to be 16 inches apart, which is very common for studs. They can be 16 or 18, maybe sometimes 20. So these are supposed to be 16. I think this stud just warped at the top. I'm going to be using these drywall screws. These are number 10, 4 inches long. So the 2x4 goes in about 1.5 inches, another 1/2 inch for the drywall, and then 2 inches to stick into the stud. And so I don't split the wood, I'm going to be using this 9/64. You could use a 1/8 drill, but I'm using 9/64. Okay, so these boards should be 24 inches long. So 15 3/4 would go 804 and 1/8 of an inch from the edge. All right. Do the same thing over here. And that should equal 15 3/4. Yep. All right, good. So the next question is, do I want to do 2 screws or just 1 in the center? 1 in the center is going to be probably perfectly fine for what I'm doing, but 2 might be better. So 4 inches is actually 3.5. All right, so if I put it 1 inch, so just so you can kind of see the markings I got, it's 4 1/8 from the side, 1 inch up and 1 inch down. You do not have to use a drill press for this. I have one, so I'll be using it, but it is not critical. But the main thing a drill press is going to do is it's going to make it so it's straight. So when I go to drill through this into the wall, I won't have to worry as much about getting the right angle. Put my laser level on a light stand so I can get it as high and as accurate as I can. I put it on those marks because I'm going to cover up the marks. I'm not going to be able to see them. Line that up. Now I'm going to drill. Okay, I'll finish those off. All right, and I just started these in. I'm gonna drill into this one so it's sticking out. Okay, impact gun, best thing ever. So the next thing is how high can I make it? I want it to go as high as I possibly can, right, all the way up. So that next board is going to have to be somewhere right in this area. There's not a lot of room at the top at this big hole for me to drill because, you know, the drill would hit the ceiling, so I'm going to use that smaller bottom hole. I can use the bigger hole in the bottom to give me some room for error, but I'm probably just going to use the small hole there too. And because things can go wrong, I don't necessarily want to put the board right to the edge. Looks like I can pretty much go right to the ceiling. I'm going to put the next board down just a little bit, so if I have to, I can bring this down just a little bit. So the distance from the top to the bottom hole is about 8 3/4, right? Not from hole to hole, but from the very top to the hole. 8 3/4. So that's another inch from the bottom of the hole to the bottom of the bracket. So I'm going to go an inch past that. So I'll be looking about 10 3/4 to the bottom of the next board. Okay. So I got the screws started. I got this one at the top right sticking out just a little bit. Okay, looks pretty good to me. There's probably a better way to do this than what I'm trying, but it's what I'm trying. Okay. Alright, so I want to give myself about that much room. About there. Getting this level is pretty important because if it's at an angle, if it's crooked, then it's going to want to lean to that side. So it has to be straight. Look at it. It has to be straight. And to install it, I'm going to be using these Fasten Tight number 6 2-inch long. I'm going to be using these number 10 stainless steel washers, just because it's what I get. And the side to side isn't as important. That can have a little slop in it. What is important is the up and down, because it's going to be resting on top of these two. I'm using a, this is a 1/16. This is my smallest bit. I'm just using that for a pilot. good. And these ones can be a little more sloppy on the bottom. Now I'm using a 3/32 to finish the hole. Check level. Looks pretty darn good. Beautiful. Cool. I should have put the handle on this side. Yep. Okay. Look at that. Man, this room feels a lot bigger now. So, I mean, that holds it no problem. I hit the light. Punk. Okay. Bing! And there's the setup. It's a nice solid light over there from the side. So it does come out pretty darn far, especially for this little room. Cool. Yep.